What's going on, YouTube? Florida Man Knives here with a video that I am extremely excited for and have been looking to do for quite a while. It's going to be my top 10 best Spyderco knives. Now, I did want to note that I am only going to be featuring folding knives in this list and exclusively knives that I currently own. I didn't want to include anything that I don't have any prior experience with, and I definitely, as I said, am just really excited to get started with this. Quick wrist check, Seiko Black Monster 2nd generation. And getting into this, I'm going to start off with an honorable mention, which would be number 11 on my list, and that's going to be the Spyderco Endura 4. Now, the Endura is just really an overall fantastic model, obviously been around for years. This is the 4th iteration. This one just so happens to be an exclusive and CPM S30V and these teal FRN handles, but the standard model does come in VG10 and is going to run you about $91. You are going to have an overall length of 8.75 inches. You are going to have a blade length of 3.75 inches and a handle length of 5 inches exactly. The weight on this guy is absolutely phenomenal for how big of a knife it is. You can see right here, 3.32 ounces. I mean, that is a lightweight knife by a lot of standards, so fantastic, honorable mention right here. My number 10 spot is something that is going to be a new acquisition for myself. So it could definitely be featuring higher up on the list in a future video. That's going to be the Spyderco Para 3. Just the standard production model. And this one you can see is in the CPM S45VN. So this is the newly updated production model. It used to come with S30V. But this is going to run you $147, which is just really great overall. You know, you got a compression lock right here, G10 scales, and of course the stainless steel liners in that compression lock. You are going to have an overall length of 7.27 inches. You're going to have a blade length of 3 inches and a handle length of 4.27 inches. The one gripe on this would be the pocket clip placement, but that is easily solved with a deep carry clip from either Lynch or MXG or another manufacturer if you feel that's a necessity. Just fantastic ergonomics on this thing. Definitely going to be a good worker and a great EDC size. Now, my number 9 is perhaps the most underrated knife on this list in my opinion, and that's going to be the Native Chief. This one is a cutlery shop exclusive in CTS XHP and these orange G10 scales, and of course a black DLC coated blade, but the standard model is going to come in S30V, uncoated blade with black G10 scales, and it's going to run you $168. Now, as I said with the Endura, same principle applies here. This is a very large knife, and this is very, very lightweight. I just am really, really surprised that they were able to pull this off. Coming in, you can see right here at 4.09 ounces with an overall length of 9.08 inches, a blade length of 4 inches, and a handle length of 5.08 inches. Ergonomics on this are just really good. You know, multiple grip positions. You've got this nice 4-finger choil there, really nice jimping, just really a phenomenal knife. And my one biggest thing that I absolutely love is how slim it carries in the pocket. I mean, you can see this, again, is a very large knife, but compared to a lot of other models out there, in the pocket, you just really don't notice it. You know, I haven't handled the Shaman, but that is the sole reason I haven't purchased it really. It's just I have this knife, and it's actually a little bit longer, I believe, and it's just so much more slim in the pocket. And while I've got the scale out here, I do not believe that I had weighed the standard Spyderco Para 3. You can see that's going to be coming in at 3.42 ounces. My apologies there. But my number 8 is something that I personally probably like more than 90% of people. It's going to be the Spyderco Siren. Now, this is just really, really a great knife overall for EDC purposes, and honestly really surprised me. So as you can see, it has LC200N steel, which is going to be virtually rust proof, 90% of the corrosion resistance that you're going to get on the H1, but a serious improvement on edge retention, toughness, etc. So I bought this predominantly to be utilized as a fishing knife. Florida Man Knives here. I go fishing as much as I possibly can. And, you know, I was really excited to try this out, be able to cut up some bait with it. It's super lightweight. I actually don't mind this guard right here, you know, keeping your finger from going up here under the blade. Usually I'm not a fan of that, as you saw in some of my other knives. I like the 4-finger choil, but On this one, it didn't bother me. Again, I was going to use it as a fishing knife, but Lance Clinton, the designer here, Golden, Colorado, USA Earth knife, by the way. Lance Clinton, he did say that, this knife is an EDC first and fishing knife second. And honestly, I've come to agree with him. The ergonomics on this is what I love more than anything. It's just fits my hands so well. For those of you who do not watch the channel, I do have extra large hands, sometimes XXL depending on the glove size. Now that is predominantly due to the length of my fingers as opposed to the width, but I did just want to make a note of that as I'm discussing ergonomics. Just really, really love this thing. The G10, very grippy, does not bother me at all. I love the blue G10 liners as well, just a really nice touch. And then you've got this black deep carry wire pocket clip, which is my favorite pocket clip that comes from Spyderco. You are going to have an overall length of 8.75 inches and a blade length of 3.61 inches and a handle length of 5.14 inches. So definitely a sizable knife, but as I was saying, for how large it is, and again, you might pick this up. I like lightweight knives, but 3.49 ounces, under, or about 3.5 for a knife this big is just really exceptional in my opinion. And the price is going to be $175. So, it might be a little bit expensive, but with LC200N steel and this G10, it's just really phenomenal. The only complaint on this that I've seen is going to be when you're gripping it like this, you can actually see right there. If you squeeze it down, you depress that lock a little bit. And some people have said that they've experienced that when actually utilizing it in the standard grip. I have not myself, but I will definitely post a long-term review video on this. That does lead me to a point that I did want to make a note of real quick. All of these knives right here, I do have unboxing or review videos of, and if I do not, there will definitely be one to come in the near future. So getting into the number 7 spot, this is where it got really, really difficult for me. I'm going to go with the Spyderco Para 3 lightweight, and this one you can see is in the S90V and teal handles, and then I do have the Knifejoy exclusive and CPM20 CV. But as I was saying, this is where it got really difficult for me. Number 5 through number 7 are virtually just interchangeable for myself on this list, and you'll see what the other ones are, of course, but Spyderco just makes so many great knives, and this one is a great example of that. So you saw the Para 3, the standard model with G10 scales on this list before. As I said, I'm a huge fan of lightweight knives, so naturally this is just an amazing knife for myself. Just, again, love the compression lock on it, super smooth. The one difference here is it only has one washer as opposed to 2, so the blade centering is never really going to be spot on through the entirety of the lifespan on these knives, but that does not bother me at all. You do have these nice FRN scales. I'm a huge fan of FRN, not a lot of people are. And then a deep carry wire pocket clip. As I said, I absolutely love that. This one was a Sal and Eric Lesser design together based off of the Paramilitary 2, of course, and just a shrunken down version of that. The blade stock is going to be the same as the PM2, and your overall length, of course, is going to be the same as the regular Para 3 with a 7.27 inch overall length, 3 inch blade length, and a 4.27 inch handle length. The one thing that I think is just so good about the Para 3 lightweight, Spyderco does a lot of different variations of knives, lots of sprint runs and exclusives, but the standard model comes in at 105 with CTS BD1 steel. Now, CTS BD1N, there we go. I have a CTS BD1 steel, the original, again, not with the N, on another knife that you'll probably be seeing. And in my opinion, I actually like that steel. It's a great EDC, easy to sharpen steel. So my point with that is the standard model is fantastic for the value, but there's always going to be options of an upgraded steel and different colors on these FRN scales, and they're always going to be fantastic values. S90V for 140, CPM20 CV for 130, just great examples there. Absolutely love the Para 3 lightweight. And number 6 for me, as I said, 5 through 7 really interchangeable. This could have easily been number 5. The Spyderco Phillips Capara. Man, this knife is just glorious. I honestly held off from buying this knife for quite a while. I I don't know why, I just thought perhaps it was a little bit overhyped. You know, the standard variant has just such beautiful contoured carbon fiber scales, but it does only have CPM S30V, and the standard price is going to be $203. So I thought that was a little bit steep until I got this particular variant, which is the DLT Trading exclusive and CPM 20CV and these contoured G10 scales, and it completely changed my mind on the knife. I mean, ergonomically, this is this definitely, I think, would be higher up on the list if I was just speaking ergonomics, for sure, 100%. I love the pivot on this. It's super unique, looks really great, but the contoured feeling of these scales is just incredible. I really want to try out the carbon fiber version for myself. You do have a deep carry wire pocket clip, and this is going to be a Taichung Taiwan model, so fit and finish is going to be absolutely phenomenal across the board. They do just fantastic work out of their factory. You know, I love the Golden, Colorado factory. I love the Seiki City factory. You know, I'm a Spyderco fanboy for sure, 100%. But I think with my personal experience, at least, the Taichung factory has had the best fit and finish overall. But back to the Capara, just such a great knife. This 4-finger choil right here, so you can grip it up here or back here, which is actually very comfortable for my hands even. Not always, you know, utilizing the rear grip, like on the Para 3, for me, I can't even do that. It's just not comfortable. Again, that is a smaller knife though, which leads me to the overall length of 8.25 inches on this guy. You are gonna have a blade length of 3.6 inches and a handle length of 4.65 inches. What is amazing about this one, kind of like the Native Chief, it is just ultra slim in the pocket for how long of a knife it is. And it's gonna be very lightweight for the materials, 3.53 ounces. You know, the only complaints I guess you could have would be that the Spidey hole is not fully exposed there. And then you also do feel that on the compression lock, you can see not the blade, but right here, that unground portion. You know, if you close it and you have your finger too deep in the compression lock, you will feel that. So I did want to make a note of that. My two sole complaints about this knife: it does not have any jimping, you can see right here. That's because Phillips Capara intended this to be more of a food prep knife in addition to an EDC knife. So you don't want any food particles getting into any aggressive jimping up here or on the 4-finger choil. But it does have this beautiful red G10 backspacer, which comes on the carbon fiber version as well. This knife is just so good. Yeah, just every time I hold it, it just makes me smile. Ergonomically, it's just so wonderful. Fantastic from Spyderco. My only complaint really is just, I wish it was a little bit more affordable, but at the same time, then you wouldn't have contoured carbon fiber scales on the standard model. So it is what it is there. Just a fantastic knife. Now, my number 5 is going to be an OG. In my opinion, you know, not their most popular model necessarily, but probably their most famous at the moment. It's going to be the Delica 4. Just, it's just such a classic. You know, VG10 steel, I'm a huge fan of VG10, honestly. A lot of people gripe about it. I think it's phenomenal. You know, super easy to sharpen, super razor sharp as well, once you do get a good edge on it. And, you know, Seiki City, Japan, of course. The Delica is just a timeless classic. You know, great ergonomics, you know, a little bit small depending on how I grip it. You know, up in this top part here, I just wish they kind of had put this point a little bit higher up. But I've been using this for so long, I honestly don't even notice it. I did put an MXG deep carry pocket clip on it. That is going to be my one complaint with this model. But that's pretty typical of Spyderco, and not everyone likes deep carry pocket clips, so, you know, I'm not going to really complain about that at all. You're going to have stainless steel liners, FRN scales, of course. This one just so happens to be the lightweight variant, which is only going to shed off like 0.2 ounces. Of course, these exclusive teal FRN scales. But if you're not familiar, the standard variant with VG10 steel is going to be $84 with an overall length of 7.125 inches. A blade length of 2.875 inches, and a handle length of 4.25 inches. Just really so good. You know, I will admit, obviously with Spyderco's price increases, this was a way better value back in the, you know, $60 range, but I still think it's just such a fantastic EDC knife. And if you're a fan of lightweight knives, it's a no-brainer. If you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend that you do. 2.26 ounces on this particular variant. I believe the standard non-lightweight's like 2.4. Just such a good knife. The Delica 4, as I said, such a classic. You know, I remember the original Delicas with the clip it carry, you know, the molded in pocket clips. Actually, back in the era of this rescue right here, clip it rescue, but just, it's been around forever. You know, before the Endura, of course, not by much. And it's just such a great knife. But as I said, the Delica for me is pretty interchangeable with the Capara and even the Para 3 lightweight. But getting into my number 4 spot, this is where I knew my top 4, 100%. The Spyderco Man X2 lightweight, just, this is what I consider to be my first more expensive knife. You know, not my first Spyderco, but this was the first knife that I got that was close to $100. I had pre-ordered this particular all black variant back when they came out in 2015, I believe. And I've EDC'd this thing like crazy. It was in the $90 range back then, but it's only $105 right now. It has been upgraded to CTS BD1N steel with the blue translucent scales, and then the standard model. I can't recall if they left the regular BD1 on the black DLC coated version or not, but you are going to have a wire pocket clip here, not deep carry, but in my experience with this knife, this has gone in and out of the pocket more easily than any other knife I've owned. The one gripe I will say with this pocket clip is I've broken off like 3 of them for sure, maybe 4, but you know, Spyderco factory outlet, I just ordered replacement ones. You know, it was like, I don't know, $10 maybe. I did that years ago. This was black at one point, and you can see it's been scuffed up to be more of a silver pocket clip now at this point. But just such a great overall design. The ball bearing lock from Spyderco is honestly my favorite knife design or locking mechanism of any knife design, any knife manufacturer. I just think it's really fun to fidget with, of course, but it's additionally just very strong. Just such a great lock, such a great knife, great ergonomics. You do have this 4-finger choil up here, of course, which in my opinion is one of the most comfortable grips on a 4-finger choil. And back here, it's just, the ergonomics on this thing are so good. Golden, Colorado, USA Earth, Eric Lesser design, of course. Just, I can't really say enough about this knife. You know, they do have the regular Man X2 with G10 scales and stainless steel liners, but the weight on that is definitely going to be substantial as opposed to this. So the overall length is going to be 8.03 inches. You're going to have a blade length of 3.37 inches and a handle length of 4.66 inches. So, you know, again, blade length 3.37 inches, pretty large knife, 2.89 ounces. That is what sold me on this knife. You know, several years ago, I knew that I would love it for EDC purposes, and I did. I just have cut so much with this thing. And as soon as, oh man, I completely failed there. But as soon as the Knife Joker announced that they'd be releasing this Mystic Green FRN, translucent FRCP, not FRN, I'll note that in a second. I had to get it CPM 20 CV steel. You know, they have several different variations of this. They're always releasing exclusives and the occasional sprint run. But as I mentioned, FRCP, not FRN. So FRN is going to stand for fiberglass reinforced nylon. FRCP is going to stand for fiberglass reinforced copolymer. So it's going to be a little bit different, a little bit more sturdy. It does feel a little bit different as well. I will admit I actually prefer the feeling of FRN. It feels just a little bit softer in the hand. I just love this knife so much. I need to move on to the next one. I could talk about this one for so long. Maybe it's because it was, you know, one of my first nicer knives, but in my opinion, if you had to get, you know, just one EDC knife, $105, it's a great price, great value. You know, a larger knife definitely would be one that I would perhaps recommend. My number 3 spot is going to be, you know, pretty expected, I'm sure, by most people. It's going to be the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. you know, I really, you know, can't say enough about this knife. It's a PM2. It's so phenomenal. Compression lock, of course, G10 scale, stainless steel liners. The standard variant has S30V, but I believe they'll be moving to S45VN as well on that, like the Para 3. The standard variant also comes in at $154.70. That is a great value still, in my opinion. You know, used to be far more affordable, of course, but, you know, Spyderco's price increases, and then you do have inflation to consider. I still think this is just a fantastic value. The ergonomics are so good. The 4-finger grip I actually preferred to the Man X2 lightweight by a good bit, I'll admit. Sal and Eric Lesser design on this one. Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. Just so good. This one is also a DLT trading exclusive, an S90V, as you saw, with a DLC coated blade and matching hardware and pocket clip. Now, the one thing I did want to also note, I've been complaining about some of the pocket clips. The PM2, in my opinion, actually has pretty good pocket clip placement. Now, I still may or may not put a deep carry one on this, just we'll see. But, you know, I think overall, I honestly have zero complaints about this knife. An overall length of 8.25 inches, blade length of 3.44 inches, and a handle length of 4.81 inches. Again, G10 scales, stainless steel liners, and it's really not that heavy. 3.77 ounces. I mean, under 4 ounces for a knife that can do what this guy can. I mean, this thing, so robust, you know, just so utilitarian. You know, you got a blade stock of 0.14 inches. You know, it's going to be pretty stout, but it comes down to a really nice edge. Full flat grind, of course. Going to be a great slicer. Razor sharp, as all these Spydercos are. It's a PM2, guys. You already know. It's third on the list for a reason. You know, not everyone likes them as much as I do. Some people like them more than I do. It's just a paramilitary too. I just love these things so much. And this was going to be my number 2 on the list until I was fortunate enough to achieve a grail of mine via Knife Joy with their exclusive Swish Bowie, there we go, with the proper pronunciation. So there was a lot of hype around this knife. This particular variant, of course, you know, lots of negativity and lots of positive comments. I addressed that briefly in my unboxing video, so go check that out if you're curious. But this thing, to me, lives up to all the hype. I never thought I'd ever spend this much on a knife, let alone a Spyderco, I will be honest, and I'm so happy I did. I can't say enough about this thing either. This thing is just so good. The fit and finish from the Taichung, Taiwan factory, phenomenal. Again, Martin Swish design. All of his designs are so cool, so unique, but look at the detail on this. You got this nice crowned blade spine right here. 3/4 of the blade spine's crowned just to perfection. Man, razor sharp M390 on this particular variant. The original ones, of course, did have a nice mirror stone washed XHP blade, and then they also did have a nice just standard gray titanium for the scales. But I actually really am loving this blue anodized version right here. I don't mind the pelt satin ground finish. I'll definitely be using this knife. I already have sharpening choil on a Spyderco, just phenomenal. Of course, you do have a Chris Reeve integral frame lock, G10 backspacer, which could be a complaint for some people, deep carry wire pocket clip, which I love, but there are some pocket clips available that are anodized blue titanium to match this exact color. They look fantastic. I've seen pictures of those on Instagram and YouTube respectively, but this knife, just as I said, lives up to all the hype for me. The ergonomics on this are just perfect. That was the one thing that always held me back from this particular model. You know, I was a little bit fearful with the curvature of this handle that it was going to be a little small for my hands, but when you really get into it, it fits like a glove. Man, if you watch my unboxing video, I was so unbelievably excited about this knife. I still am. It's just such a great piece of art. but more importantly, it's a great tool. You know, it's gonna be super strong, obviously, with this frame lock. You're gonna have a great steel. I love this Bowie shape. I, I just am overjoyed to be able to own this knife, honestly. And it is number 2 on the list. The price is going to be very, very steep, of course. This particular variant was $400, but the secondary prices on all of them are going to be more. You are going to have an overall length of 7.79 inches, a blade length of 3.42 inches, and a handle length of 4.37 inches. Of course, with it being a full titanium frame lock, the weight's going to be a little bit heftier than some of the other knives on this list, or all of the other knives so far, being at 4.23 ounces, but that still, in my opinion, is fantastic for EDC purposes, especially when you consider, completely failed at that flick there, especially when you consider that it's a stainless steel, there we go, titanium frame lock. Man, I cannot speak on this knife. I'm just so excited about it. Yeah, I'm gonna put this guy away and bring out my number 1. This might surprise some of you, but Florida Man Knives here. It might not surprise anybody, who knows. It's gonna be the Spyderco Dragonfly 2, particularly the Salt model. Now, this thing to me just is really funny. So, as I said, I have extra large hands. This is one of the smallest knives I own, you know, not talking Victorinox models, you know, like the classic ST. The ergonomics on this are just perfect for me. I really don't know what to say. With how they shaped this handle, you know, curved it up right here in the back, my pinky just falls on that perfectly. My 2 fingers fill up that gap nicely. And then you've, of course, got this nice 4-finger choil, great jimping on it. You know, the Dragonfly 2 in general is just such a great knife. I'm in love with it. I actually have the pink model on the way with the black DLC coated blade, so keep an eye out for an unboxing there. But you do have a deep carry wire pocket clip that is going to be definitely shrunken down. It does expose more of the knife than some of the other models in the pocket, but I actually don't mind that with it being so small. It's really easy to grab. Again, ergonomics are phenomenal. This particular one, being the Salt model, does have H1 steel. The standard variant does have VG10, and that's going to be coming in at $74.90, or perhaps a little bit cheaper. Sorry, the Salt model is at $74.90. But overall length 5.56 inches, blade length 2.25. So again, very, very small, and that's including this choil right here, and then a handle length of 3.31 inches. But the ergonomics, I can't stop talking about it. It just cracks me up. It's such a small knife, and it's just so great in hand. But more importantly for me, 1.2 ounces. I mean, you got to be careful with this knife. You know, I'm not concerned about this one. It's rust proof, but you got to be careful washing this guy because you don't feel it in the pocket. Like I say that about, you know, 3-ounce knives. The Manix 2 lightweight, I don't feel it in the pocket. It's so lightweight. Now this, you actually do not feel in the pocket. 1.2 ounces. I mean, it's like a few quarters or something. I don't know, but just such a great little knife. It's actually really fun to fidget with as well. You can Spidey flick them, but it's definitely not the easiest. You know, I'm super used to this knife. I bought this knife on January 26th, 2015. So I've had this for quite a while. This particular one being the Salt model, I've cut up tons of bait fish with and just opened way too many Amazon packages with it. And I'm actually really surprised. I've cut through some stuff that I wasn't sure if it would handle, and it did to perfection with ease. And that's why it's number 1 on the list, because to me, for the price, coming in at 1.2 ounces, this knife is just as capable in most EDC applications, in my opinion, as all the other knives on this list. You know, you're not going to be doing some extreme, you know, hunting or, you know, chopping down any trees or whittling down some wood for a fire with this necessarily, but it's just so great. You know, what are you going to be using your knife for on an everyday carry basis? That's really what I would ask you. If it's going to be predominantly opening packages, cutting zip ties, things like that, cutting cardboard, you know, this is really just going to be phenomenal overall. I can't say enough about this guy. Number 1 on the list for a reason for me. Spyderco Dragonfly too, specifically the Salt model. The irregular variants do have full flat ground blades. This one is hollow ground because it is H1 steel, and you can see I did not clean this guy up and I need to put an edge on it. It is well used, but I've cut through several fish that's like 5 times this, not even like 15 times the size of this knife, but it does great. So before I close this video out, I did want to note, you did not see a few knives that I want to bring up. The Chaparral, in my opinion, is a phenomenal model. They have just so many different variants of it. I really like the Raffier Noble. I really am a fan of the new Bird's Eye Wood. Definitely have my eye on that. You also did not see the Sage in any variant. I think the Sage is just also so great. They have so many different models of that too, but there's just too many knives that I have that are so similar to the Sage, and I'm such a big fan of the Para 3 that is why I do not own one. So like I said, this is just out of the knives that I do currently own, so this very well could change in the future. And I will be sure to be posting future top 10 Spyderco knives. But the other knives I did want to mention, the Native 5 Lightweight, I don't have for the same reasons as the Sage. It's definitely an appealing knife to me, but it just, you know, I can only have so many knives at once, guys. So I already have more than enough, more than I need. I'm so grateful to be able to own all that I do, to be honest with you, especially these exclusive models that are so hard to get your hands on. I also did not include the Domino, which is something that has been discontinued, so that's part of the reason I didn't include it, and I have never handled it, but I've always wanted to. They have some beautiful carbon fiber versions of that. And the last one that I did want to mention is going to be the Nirvana. That's my all-time Spyderco Grail, that and the Dodo, actually. But, you know, having never handled them, of course, can't include them on the list. So I really appreciate everyone watching. If you made it this far into the video, oh man, I'm looking at the time. This went way longer than I expected, so I apologize there. And I should have said this in the beginning, but I would be really curious to hear what your favorite Spyderco knives are. You know, just give me your favorite, top 5, top 10, whatever. I just really love to hear feedback and different people's opinions on these guys. Can't say enough about Spyderco, of course. I'm a huge fanboy for sure. And these are my top 10 best Spyderco knives. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I hope everyone has a great week. Thanks.